It's funny. The most profound, life-altering moments, they don't always happen under the spotlight. Sometimes they find us in the quiet, sterile, in-between spaces. Today, we're going to break down a short play that takes place in one of those exact spots, a hospital waiting room, and it reveals some incredible truths about life, death, and how we connect when we are at our most raw and vulnerable. And this one line, man, it just perfectly sets the scene. At 3 o'clock in the morning in a hospital, all the normal rules just go out the window. It's a time and a place where this raw, unfiltered honesty breaks through, and that's exactly where our story kicks off. So before we even meet the characters, we have to talk about the setting, because it's not just a backdrop here, it's really a character in its own right, this little space caught in that fragile balance between life and death. Okay, so picture this. You're standing in this sterile, harshly lit hospital bathroom. And on one side, to your left, you can literally hear the first cries of a newborn baby coming from the maternity ward. And then on the other side, to your right, there's just the heavy, deep silence of an oncology wing. This little restroom becomes this incredible symbolic crossroads, a place where life and death are just a single wall apart. And right into this pressure cooker walk three men. They're total strangers, but they're all tied together by one simple act. They're waiting. And each one of them is carrying the incredible weight of a moment that's about to change their entire life. So let's meet our guys, each one kind of representing a huge life transition. You've got Tom, who is just terrified about becoming a dad. There's Carlos, a cynical divorce lawyer who's drowning in bitterness. And then there's Frank, an old union guy who is just steeped in this quiet, heavy grief of saying goodbye to his wife. When we first meet them, they're basically just three isolated islands of pain. First up, you can just feel the panic radiating off of Tom. He's just been kicked out of the delivery room, he feels completely and utterly helpless, and what's supposed to be the best moment of his life has suddenly just spiraled into a medical emergency. His fear is so real, you can almost touch it. And then you have Frank. Now this is a guy who's a veteran. He's seen the horrors of war, but he tells us flat out that Nothing compares to the slow-motion agony of watching his wife of 48 years fade away from Alzheimer's. This isn't a sudden loss for him. It's a grief he's been living with, day in and day out, for years. Wow. This line just says everything about where Carlos's head is at. He's a divorce lawyer, and he feels like his entire job is just to dismantle everything that people hold sacred. And this bitterness is super personal. He's just finalized a client's divorce, and he's still reeling from his own. So, you've got these three guarded men, total strangers, all locked in their own private hells. How in the world do they break through that isolation? Well, the connection doesn't start with some big, grand speech. It begins with these small moments, all centered around some really simple symbolic objects. These right here, these are the keys that unlock their stories. Their wedding rings become these potent symbols of love, both what they have and what they've lost. A lucky coin ends up representing a whole lifetime of memories. A half-remembered song connects one of them to his heritage and a sense of hope. And a set of papers, well, that forces a conversation about the hardest decision any of them will ever have to make. You can almost watch it happen in real time, this progression. First, they're just there, physically in the same uncomfortable room. Then they notice a shared symbol, the wedding rings. And they realize, okay, we have some common ground. And that one little thing opens the door for them to actually share their vulnerabilities. And they go from being strangers to something much, much deeper. And then Frank, the old-timer, drops this little piece of wisdom, and it's a real turning point in their conversation. He gives Carlos, and all of us really, a whole new way to look at pain. This is a moment they stop just listing their problems and actually start to understand where the other guys are coming from emotionally. Okay, so now that there's this spark of connection, the play really kicks into high gear. Each of these men, feeling a little less alone, is about to face a critical turning point. They have no idea, but they're about to be forever changed by this brief encounter in a hospital bathroom. And then, bam, the tension just shatters. Tom bursts back into the room with this explosion of pure joy. His daughter's been born, and this isn't just good news for him. It's like an injection of pure life and hope into a room that was so heavy with grief and bitterness just moments before. With just as quickly as that joy comes in, the play hits you with this gut punch of a contrast. As Tom is celebrating his daughter, a soft, quiet alarm starts to sound from the oncology ward. It's the sound Frank has been dreading. Life and death, joy and grief, all happening in the exact same moment, in the exact same space. And seeing these two extremes, this incredible beginning and this quiet ending, it's like a switch flips inside of Carlos. He takes a really tough phone call, and he finally finds a way to let go of all that anger. He decides he's going to keep his wedding ring on, not as a reminder of what he lost, but as a reminder that he's capable of loving that deeply again. And for Frank, well, that sound of new life, it seems to give him the strength to finally face death. He decides to sign the papers. He reframes the whole thing in his head. He's not giving up. He's giving his wife the final gift she asked him for: permission to find peace. It's just an act of incredible love and courage. And this leads to what is, for me, maybe the most beautiful moment in the entire play. Frank asks Tom to sing that song his grandmother taught him for his wife, Betty. A tradition from one family's history provides this profound comfort to another family in a moment of unimaginable loss. This is the absolute peak of their connection. One man's heritage becomes a bridge for another man's grief. So, after all that, what do we take away from this? When you boil it all down, the play leaves us with this really powerful message about what we discover about ourselves and each other when life forces us to just wait. It all comes back to a line from Tom, something his grandmother taught him, and it just perfectly wraps up the whole theme. A marriage ends, but it transforms into a memory of what love can be. A life ends, but it transforms into peace. And the terrified waiting for a new life transforms a scared young man into a father. Because in the end, the play is arguing that the big events, the birth, the divorce, the death, they aren't the whole story. The real story is what happens in between. It suggests that our truest humanity, our ability to show empathy and grace, is found in these quiet, shared moments of waiting. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've all been in a waiting room of some kind, right? Waiting for news, for a new chapter to start, or for an old one to end. The play asks us to think about this. In those moments of forced stillness, maybe the most important thing we're waiting for is to find out who we're about to become.